All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm on the internet again because no one can leave the house or go anywhere or do anything fun, and I'm here with someone who usually would be running a venue that provides that kind of fun and entertainment and things to do outside the house. And I've been talking to artists for the past 6 months or so now about this pandemic and how it's affected them and how it's affecting their ability to do their jobs and to tour and to play shows. And one of the, I think, sectors that's been the hardest hit is just the entertainment industry in general, not just the performers, but the venues and the people who work behind the scenes, doing sound, doing lighting, all that stuff. So the guest on the show today is Erick from the Park Theater, and it's interesting that we're talking about this now because things have obviously changed somewhat dramatically in Manitoba over the past basically week and a bit, and it seemed like before this most recent update on the restrictions, you had something sort of figured out for these, socially distanced shows with small audience, and they seem to be working pretty well. And you had, some stuff actually lined up. But I guess before we even get into that, maybe just let's go back to sort of when this hit. What was the feeling like when you first heard that this pandemic was coming, as a venue owner?
Like way back in March, it
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
honestly just put gasoline all over ourselves and light ourselves on fire. That was the mentality, right?
yeah, yeah.
How can we honestly get through this? Um, Man, like where do you go from that? It was the worst. It was the worst of times. Like you build, you build, and then you get to a point where you just understand or realize it's out of your control. It's
Yeah.
like imagine having a child and the child you raise till it's like 16, 17 and decides it wants to do heroin. That was the music industry. It's like, what am I gonna do? I have no control anymore.
Yeah. Well, there must have been a point though where it was kind of uncertain because no one really knew how bad this thing was going to get, right? Like at the very beginning.
Yes, absolutely. And we locked down and we all did our things and we just pushed the calendar back and we 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 dismissed shows and we said, okay, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do this, we're going to be here again. It was the worst of times, dude. It was honestly, it was the worst of times.
And then it got worse.
And it got worse and worse and worse. And like, where are we? Like we're November 2020, and we're probably, like, in my mind, honestly, we're September 2022 before we're out of this.
Wow.
That's how I feel. We're September 2022 before we're out of this. And I hate saying that out loud because I feel like a douchebag and I don't
Yeah.
want to be the pessimist, but I honestly feel like we're September 2022.
So how do you even continue to exist, between now and then? That's so far off. And there's so much, potential money you could be bringing in that's just, it can't happen, right? Assuming that's how long this lasts. How do you even deal with it?
This is what I did. I was very fortunate that Matt Perlman did that GoFundMe.
Yeah.
We raised some money. With that money, I secured some loans, and without those loans, I secured some more loans. And I love what I do. I honestly I love it to pieces. And I'm putting myself in a position where there's probably honestly no real comeback, but I love what I do. I honestly want to be the best music venue in North America.
Cool.
And I put all my cards on the table and I said, this is what I'm gonna do. And so I hope, honestly, I hope we make it through all the way through this. I hope we can do the audiences we used to have.
Yeah.
I hope we put on the shows we used to have, because I believe in live music. I believe in what we do, and I love it. I love it to pieces.
Yeah. Well, I think that shows too, just in the amount of work you've put into the venue over the years, and the timing couldn't be worse, right? Because you just finished all those renovations, and then this happens.
You're right. I just basically dropped my pants and put all the money I had in it on the building.
Yeah.
But you're honestly trying to build something really, really cool, and sometimes you have to make small sacrifices, and that at the time it felt like a very small sacrifice.
Sure.
You didn't know there was a pandemic rolling down. You're like, oh, okay, so we're gonna put ourselves in debt here. Oh, by the way, we're gonna close you down for 3 years or
Yeah, yeah.
years.
Well, when you first came back after the first little bit of pandemic time, and there was that Scott Nolan show, I was at that show, and it was weird. It was definitely, admittedly, weird being in a show at that venue that with so few people and all of the restrictions and everything. But it seemed like it was working, and I kept hearing about more shows happening there. And then I had Scott on this podcast, and he was talking about the residency he was doing, and it definitely seemed like for a time there, until things got out of your control, obviously, you had figured out a way to make these shows still happen in some form or another.
100%. Like when we came back, we were at 25% or less capacity. We were socially distanced. We were tables of 5 or less. So we were well ahead of what the province was asking for, because that's the latest round of what they're asking for. We were forward thinking, but the whole time we were doing everything, we were thinking about, are we a part of the problem or are we part of the solution? And we wanted to be a leader on everything. And then as we saw numbers going like through the fucking roof, pardon my language, through the roof, we couldn't feel, I couldn't feel comfortable with everything. And then you start talking to like the musicians. The great thing about Winnipeg and musicians, we are a community, and we all know that we're trying to do the right thing. And so what are you doing, right? Are you being a part of the problem or are you being part of the solution? So the whole time when we reopened, things were okay. We were economically, were we doing well? No, we honestly weren't. But we were putting on shows, we were trying to get back to where we were trying to get to. And then we realized it just didn't make sense. And like, we're being a part of the problem. So we have to close down again. So we closed down. Yeah,
and I mean, obviously at this point, no one knows when things will open up. I know you're expecting a long haul with this, but like, do you foresee a lot of other venues shutting their doors between now and whenever things start again? Because that's, I think, a biggest concern a lot of musicians have, right? Is that when they come out of this, we awake from this horrible nightmare, there's going to be like 5 places left to play out instead of 15 or 20.
100%. I think everybody right now is shut down, right?
Yeah,
we're all shut down. How many will survive? That's a good question, and it's. I don't want to even answer that question because we're a community. Like, even though we're competition and we like fight against each other for shows and so far, we're still a community. We know what we want to do, but who's going to survive? Hopefully everybody survives.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
No, sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot with that either. I didn't talk shit about your competition or your community there, but yeah, it's just I mean, I'm worried that that's going to happen as someone who doesn't even go to shows as much as I used to. I like the idea that I have all these options. You know what I mean? And it's seeing things close, like restaurants and all kinds of stuff are closing, because of
and
this.
It's super important, right? Because we all do every genre. Like, imagine there was only 5 of us and then we just do popular music. Then what about everybody else?
Sure.
Like, it's not fair to the community. It's not fair to everything that's going on. So we all have to survive. And I think we all have to band together. And even though we are competitors, we have to understand if we don't all make it through this, then we don't survive.
Right.
And live music doesn't survive. And live music's the most important thing. And that's the reality of it, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Park Theater survives, the Pyramid survives, this Royal Albert, the Goodwill, the West End Cultural Center, the Bulldog. There are so many great places. At the end of the day, without live music, then what are we doing? Like, are we just like, we're listening to the radio and listening to Top 40 and we're soulless people?
Well, either that or people find other places to play. It'll be only house shows or something for the next 5 years or something like that, right? Well, which, I mean, house shows are great, but there's definitely something about going to an actual venue and seeing an actual.
100%. We need live music. We need live music because that's where you actually craft the song. That's where you actually craft the tune that you're working on. You work out the nuances. You see how the audience reacts.
Yeah.
Make those extra moves, those licks, those guitar, the drums, etc. And that's how we get to where we are. And without live music, without the venues and the bands, we're a coalition, and we have to survive through this.
When, I mean, again, no one knows when it's going to happen, but once things get to some semblance of normality and you can do shows again, whether they're socially distanced shows with small audiences or they're, back to how things used to be, I'm assuming you're going to have a huge demand for artists who want to play there. And so will everyone else, because there's been such a long time that no one's been able to play anywhere. Do you have any idea how you're going to manage that, or are you going to just sort of go with it as it happens?
I haven't even thought that far ahead. I'm just trying to survive day by day.
Yeah, sure.
Here's my game plan right now: is make it through 2020, think about 2021, and understand that 2022 is probably the end game.
Yeah,
no, dude, no.
That's so far off. It's just seems crazy that it's that. But you might be right too, for sure, because it seems to be getting worse faster than it is getting better. So
it honestly is, and the reality is, and to get a little political on this,
sure.
is we are being blamed. Like venues are being blamed, restaurants are being blamed, the entertainment industry is being blamed, but it's been proven over and over again that we're like less than 1% of the cause, and yet we're the ones that have to shut down, and we're the ones who are paying the price. And the reality is we're paying what, 22 or 33% of the economy. I've seen both numbers thrown out there.
Right.
It's like, I just want to say, light a fire under your politician. Understand that we are doing it. We do not want to ever at any point put anybody in jeopardy. And by we, I mean myself, the restaurant industry, even the people who talk shit on the radio or talk shit on the internet.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we understand that we just want to be doing the right thing. And we are doing the right thing. We are less than 1 or 2% of the cause. You have to throw us a bone, because without small industry and without small business, without music venues, etc., our economy goes to shit.
Sure.
We are nothing at the end of the day. And we can't survive as a province. We can't survive as an industry. We can't survive as people. We have to understand that there is more to this than just what's going on.
So as a venue owner, then what recourse do you have to do anything about that? I mean, there's a lot of other industries that are suffering, because of the pandemic, and they have all these organizations that are lobbying the province and things like that. Whether they're getting anything done or not is a different story. But is there anything you can do to sort of, plead your case and make it clear that you're not necessarily the industry that's causing this?
You speak till you're blue in the face. You send as many emails as you can. You talk to the people that can listen. You make phone calls, and you hope the right person picks up the phone. But the reality is, myself, all my competitors, every restaurant, everybody, we're putting ourselves in a position that we're endlessly in debt.
Yeah.
And we're in it. We're putting ourselves in the corner, and we're going to fight an uphill battle when we come out of this. And the unfortunate thing is most people don't see that, and they don't see the struggle and the effort and the sacrifices we make. Because you name a restaurant, you name a bar, you name anybody, and we our whole lives are in what we're doing right now.
Sure.
And we're doing it for the right reasons. We're doing it not only because we believe in Manitoba, we believe in Winnipeg, we're trying to do the right thing, but we're being punished because we're being told we're part of the problem, and we're not. We're honestly not, because we're doing all the right things.
Well, like I said, I was at that one show, when you first reopened, and it seemed like you were doing everything. I was nervous to go out because I hadn't been out to do anything in months, and it was comfortable. It seemed like, there's spacing, everyone's washing their hands, everyone's staying away from each other. It seemed like on masks, it was working, but yeah, unfortunately, you guys.
We're distancing, we're putting people in groups of 5 or less right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Before they even asked us to do 5 or less. We're making sure that You know, people are sanitizing when we walk through the door. We were making sure the staff had masks. We were asking people to wear masks. We were doing everything right. It's not the restaurant and the bar industry that's causing this issue right now. And I think the government, Pallister especially, needs to understand that we are part of the solution and that we're doing everything right. And we need to get going. Otherwise, what are we? We're 30% of the economy.
Yeah.
Maybe more than 30% of the economy. That's a huge chunk.
It's massive, yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Do you think the average person understands that, though? Do you think that, I mean, like, you know, the average person who maybe goes to see your shows every once in a while at your venue, do they get that aspect of it?
That's a good question, Sam. That's a very good question. I think a lot of people do because we're very smart millennials. We're very educated. We're very socially aware. So yes, maybe yes.
Okay.
But does the greater populace understand that? Maybe not. Does everybody on the outside looking in? Maybe not. The great thing about the music industry, it's very secular, right? Like, we are very, very inclusive.
Yeah,
not
for sure.
Because we want to be inclusive. It's not a group where you have to have like a special code or a handshake to get into. But we all are aware of everybody else. We are very, very understanding of how hard it is to do what we do.
Yeah.
And we ensure that everybody survives. And if the music industry as it is, the way that I've just described it and the way it is, if it were to get to the greater populace, I think we'd be doing much better, because everybody would understand we have to wear the mask, we have to sanitize, we can't be the idiots who are causing the problem. We wouldn't be doing 300 plus numbers a day. We would be in that happy place, but everybody just got so freaking cavalier and just thought, oh well, like
we're good now. Yeah.
Good. Who cares, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks for everybody. This situation we're in, and it sucks that it's not getting better and it's heading in the wrong direction. And yeah, I mean, like, you think that that's maybe the worst for people in your business is that, you know, I can work from home. I'm doing my day job. You know, in the daytime, I'm sitting at a computer in my basement, and I can do everything I need to do. You can't. Obviously, you know, there's no basement desk job for running a venue, and I think that people maybe aren't noticing that because, you know, some people are back to work a little bit, other people are working from home. It's fine. We'll deal with it. We'll get through it. But I'm not at risk of, you know, basically my entire livelihood disappearing because of situations beyond my control, right? So I think maybe people are having trouble having empathy or even understanding what it's like, because, you know, obviously your venue is not massive, but I think a lot of people too have this idea that touring artists especially have tons of money and they get paid tons of money, and it's you know, oh, this big band coming through. It doesn't matter if they lose a few months' pay because they're already, and that's clearly not the case for a lot of the artists that you have at the venue at all.
It is not. Like, and yeah, you're right. If people start thinking that's the logistics of the music industry, that everybody's like making cash like crazy, like, you're wrong. You're 100% wrong. We're all just trying to create art, and art doesn't make money
for anybody. No.
Look at Van Gogh, right?
Yeah. You got to die first, right? And then your art makes money. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, we have to be in this together. And I don't know where, like, you know, I try to talk to every other music venue owner. I try to talk to like every artist that I can, anybody who will like talk to me.
Yeah.
Reality is, we're in this together. We're a coalition. We're a coalition of people who want to survive. And the only reason we want to survive is because we believe in what we're doing.
Sure.
We're not going to make $1 million. One or two of us might make it out there. It might be like the biggest pop star, and that's amazing. I want that for everybody.
Totally, yeah.
But we're all just making a living, and we're all just creating art, and art's important. Without art, what are we?
We're boring. We're definitely boring without art, for sure. Yeah.
Definitely boring.
So I have this kind of fantasy dream idea, which I don't know if will come to fruition, but I have this idea that once things come back from this pandemic, that because the playing field will be leveled and everyone has been without shows for, however many months or years or whatever it is, that I'm hoping that independent artists and smaller artists are going to maybe get a bit of an advantage because they're now at the same level as everybody else, and they can hopefully kind of take a leap and jump ahead and sort of, get ahead of the game. And I don't know what you think about that idea. I'm pretty sure I'm just deluding myself into thinking it's going to happen, but I have this hope that DIY bands and venues and podcasts and zines and everything can all sort of take advantage of such a weird situation and find a way to make themselves known. I don't know if you think that's going to happen at all, or if I'm just, I don't know.
Oh, I think there's some value to that because I think we're going to be so starved, right?
Yeah.
So I think there'll be a lot of new voices coming out. And I think it's not just going to be like us. It's going to be the unexpected. Or we're going to see a lot of unexpected voices come out and shine and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see who comes through that in the end, right?
Yeah. Well, who survives it or what new comes out of it?
Yeah, and I don't know if it will all be a survival, but I think you'll see a lot of new voices come out. There'll be a lot of people who will understand and get what we're doing and what we're going through right now that will have perseverance and go, hey, this is my song, or hey, this is my voice, or hey, this is my art.
Yeah.
So we might see some pretty amazing things, and I'm excited to see what that's going to be.
Yeah, me too. I hope some really cool stuff comes out of it. Get something positive out of all this negativity for sure. Yeah.
We need to be positive right now.
Yeah, you could use a lot of it. Yeah. So is there any, again, obviously no one knows when this is going to end. Is there any possibility that you'll have to do other kinds of things at the venue in order to, keep it afloat if this lasts longer than expected? Like non-music shows. I mean, I know you used to rent videos and stuff. Things have changed, obviously. Things have changed, right? But I mean, is there some other uses for the park that you may have to consider if the whole live performance thing remains canceled for longer than you're expecting?
Well, on the side, I've learned how to create gin right from scratch.
useful.
So much time.
Yeah, sure.
Who knows, dude? Like, who knows?
Yeah.
The great thing is, like, we persevered for 15 years, and we've gone through a lot of ups and downs, and like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
That's cool.
Like a year or 2 months or 3 months. Who knows? We might be a pizza parlor in like 6 months. Right?
Yeah, that could happen, right?
Right?
I know there was, like you mentioned earlier, there was that GoFundMe that happened, and you were selling gift cards and stuff at the beginning of all this. Is there anything you're currently doing to kind of bring in money for the venue while you're closed, or are you kind of put that on hold for now?
Nope. We just, we're actually days away from launching a whole merch line.
Cool.
Absolutely amazing shirts and hoodies that I'm so proud of. I've been working on for a very long time, and I had a very, very hard time trying to get it to the final product. And we have something that I'm ecstatic about, like amazing. And I think when people see it, they'll be a little bit blown away, and
awesome.
Hopefully will fly off the shelves like I think it is. And just, other cool things like that. The reality is though, like, I'll make it through this because I know how to borrow money really well.
Okay, that's a skill. That's a skill for sure. Yeah.
It is a skill. It honestly is a skill. And it sounds like a douchebag. But the most important thing is, I'm not the important part of this equation.
Right.
Every one of the musicians who ever played the Park Theater, I can't survive without them coming back. Or I can't survive with the people who have the voice. I can't survive with the people who have the song, the tune, who have the art that want to play my stage.
Yeah.
So I need them to survive. I need them to have the voice. I need them to be able to say, I'm coming back. And so this is a coalition. This is honestly a coalition. We all have to come back together.
So, I mean, obviously, I hope you come back. I love the park, and I love the Winnipeg music scene. Clearly, I wouldn't have been doing this thing for 8 years or whatever it is. But, if people are hearing this, because it's a podcast, someone might hear it next week, or they might hear it, 6 months from now. And by then, hopefully things have changed. Maybe they haven't. But what's the best option for someone if they want to find out what's happening at the park, in the hopes that there will be things happening again by the time they hear this.
For sure. MyParkTheater.com, Canadian spelling.
Yeah.
Check out our Facebook page. Send me a message. Just, yeah, like, and be awesome. That's the important part. Be awesome. And understand that we're all part of the solution if we want to be a part of the solution.